Om Sthapakaya cha dharmasya sarvadharmaswarupine avatara varishtaya Ramakrishna te namaha. O Ramakrishna, the establisher of the eternal religion, the embodiment of all religions, and the best of all incarnations, we salute thee. In the last reading class, we left at page 448. There we were discussing the preface to the chapter on Sri Ramakrishna as the spiritual teacher. So we will continue the same from where we left last time. Again, when we discussed the full implication of the new truth, namely, as many faiths, so many paths, discovered and proclaimed by him for the benefit of mankind, when he reached perfection in a remarkably short time in all the spiritual practices according to the faiths preached by previous incarnations, we are inevitably led to accept him as the summation and consummation of all the incarnations who have gone before. Because he practiced all the religion that the previous incarnations have practiced, but in such an incredibly short time. So this author, himself a great spiritual person and a sort of a person who understands the spiritual implications, he says we have to accept that Sri Ramakrishna is a summation and consummation of all the incarnations who have gone before. That was what Swami Vivekananda sang about Sri Ramakrishna, Avatara Varishtaya, the best of all the incarnations. A person like Vivekananda, who was so open-hearted, who had nothing to do with anything that is partisan or sectarian or small-minded. Such a great liberal mind. He also called Sri Ramakrishna as the summation, consummation of all the incarnations, as the author is telling. The more we have discussed the unprecedented holy life of Sri Ramakrishna, the greater has grown our conviction that he is the unique product of the universal and eternal spiritual ideas of the Vedas, the totality of their essence. Vedas means the spiritual knowledge in totality. Whatever spiritual knowledge is there for humanity, which has been known, so it is all in the Vedas. So whatever is there, it all was known to Sri Ramakrishna. And to the other incarnations, a part of it was known. Here was the person. So how he was unique in bringing all the truths once in his own person. So his teachings include Christianity, it includes Buddhism, it includes the teachings of Rama, Krishna, Chaitanya. All the unique features of all the religions are there in the experiments and realization of Sri Ramakrishna. And after realizing every one of them, he speaks that all faiths are equally good. So all faiths, so many paths. So if there are so many faiths, there need not be any quarrel. So many new paths are there. More the paths, it is easier for us to go and reach a place. If there is only one way, so somebody in the north, if the way is the southern side, we have to cover all the ground up to south to take that path. Whereas if a path is there from north itself to a particular place, he can tread that and reach the place easily. So more the religion, better. That is the conclusion that we can arrive from as many religions, so many paths. When the revered Swami Vivekananda had preached Sri Ramakrishna's ideas and the public became eager to know the facts of his life, many people published many accounts of him, but none of them pointed out clearly the hidden relation that existed between that unique life and the Vedic or eternal religion. So many people have written the life of Sri Ramakrishna, but how it was connected with the eternal Vedas, the eternal religion, so nobody pointed out. They say it is a feature that was unique to his life. It was not unique. It was something that was there already in the past, but which we had forgotten. So he unearthed it and established new truths are here. So all these have come out from the already existing truths. There is a continuity of that eternal teachings of Vedas. So this point nobody had pointed out. So he says Sri Ramakrishna pointed out. Consequently, from a study of these books, an impression has grown in the mind of people that Sri Ramakrishna was a man cut off from the tradition of the eternal Hindu religion and has left behind him a particular sectarian doctrine of his creation. So they thought, just as the different sects in Hinduism earlier to him, so many sects were there. Say, we can say the Shakta sect, the Shaiva sect, the Vaishnava sect, the Tantric sects, different varieties, and the modern sects also, Arya Samaj, Prarthana Samaj, etc., or several Samajas. So they called themselves as religion and unconnected with the eternal religion of Vedas. They were different, unique by themselves. People thought that Sri Ramakrishna's teaching also was like that. It was a separate sort of ideas propagated by him with a sectarian view. So the author refutes that. Further, many of those stories contain errors regarding the life history of the master and lack appreciation of the real import of the events of his life and the relation with events before and after. In order to meet to a certain extent that demand of the public, we have, following in the footsteps of Swami Vivekananda, attempted in this book a description of that great noble life as it presented itself to us and a little of the state of being, the realization of a particle of which has made Swami Vivekananda and others, including ourselves, dedicate their lives at the lotus feet of the Master. So the author is humble. Author is a knower of Brahman. He knows the high states of Samadhi. He has experienced it. Such a person, he says, with a particle of Sri Ramakrishna's knowledge, we have been able to attain to this state. What to speak of the ocean of all those particles that Sri Ramakrishna was. Let the reader know that if even a small part of the noble ideal of the Master's life, unintelligible to ordinary man, has been correctly portrayed in this book, it is due to his greatness. And whatever defect or incompleteness has remained in it is due to our lack of proper understanding and expression. He is humble. So if there is any defect, don't attribute it to Sri Ramakrishna's life. It is our lack of power of expression. We have recorded it wrongly. We intend to present to the reader a description of the first and last part of the precious life of the Masters later. Before we start, we intend to prefix the verses and the aphoristic article by Swami Vivekananda, who has discussed therein the hidden relation of the eternal Vedic religion with the unfathomable life of Sri Ramakrishna abiding in Bhavamukha. So the author comes to the conclusion of his preface. So in the preface he says that he is going to start his next volume, next part, discussion, after going through or after presenting to us what Swami Vivekananda has written about Sri Ramakrishna. So the next article we are going to read, The Hindu Religion and Sri Ramakrishna, is authored by Swami Vivekananda. It has got connection with this great life of the Master. So the author, Swami Sharadananda, is presenting the above the translation of a Sanskrit stanza by Swami Vivekananda. Achandala pratihratarayo yasya prema svabhavaha yasya achandala pratihratarayo yasya prema pravaha. He starts with Sanskrit, beautiful verse written by Swami himself. So with the translated version of that one, the author continues his book. So the Hindu religion and Sri Ramakrishna. This is the translation. Under this one, first we read this Achandala Pratihratarayo in a translation. The Hindu religion and Sri Ramakrishna. The one born as Rama of incomparable greatness in all the three worlds. The very life of Janaka's daughter, who though himself beyond the world low, did not give up doing good to it. The current of whose love flowed ever unchecked down even to the Chandala, and whose body of supreme knowledge was enveloped by devotion in the form of Sita, the one born as Krishna, who sang the song, the Gita, sweet and tranquil, yet deep as the roar of a lion, suppressing the great cataclysmic tumult raised in the battlefield and destroying the innate profound darkness of ignorance, that ever-renowned divine personality is now born as Ramakrishna. Swami refers to Rama in the first half of it and Krishna in the second half of it. So now Sri Ramakrishna is born with both the people inside him. That means he is the successor to both of them. He having within himself both the personalities. Sri Ramakrishna himself has proclaimed this one several times. He that was Rama, he that was Krishna, he is Ramakrishna in this body. So now the author continues. The word Shastra denotes the beginningless and endless Veda. It is the Veda only that is capable of teaching religion. Religion means the path to realize God. The existence of God, number one, and existence of the individual souls, number two, the existence of the creation, third. All these three, these are all discussed in the Vedas. They are the source book. So all the other books that talk about it, they all depend on the Vedas only for the knowledge of God, the individual souls, and the creation. These three are the subject matter, and the Vedas are full of this. It is this Veda only that is capable of teaching religion. If somebody wants to know religion, we must study Vedas. Just like if we want to know physics, we go to the texts of physics, science. Similarly, if we want to chemistry, we go to the texts about chemistry. We want to know about Atman, Paramatman, and the Prakriti, God, individual soul, and the creation. We have to go to Vedas. That is the textbook where all these are discussed. The Puranas and other books, Puranas are called mythologies. Mythologies are denoted by the word Smriti, The first one is called Shruti. Shruti is the Vedas. Now Smriti is those other books written from the intellect of the sages. The Vedas were not written from the intellect, they were inspired. They were in one way, they were expired, we should say. That means from inside them, the truths came out like that, just like that, without thinking. That means God expressed himself through the tongues of those rishis. Rishis had lost their individuality. They were only instruments for God to speak through their tongue. So, such great rishis who have uttered the truths of Vedas, they are called the mantra drashtas, the knowers of the different mantra. So, the truth that has not come from their thinking, from their mind. It has come directly from God. Their mouth and their other nervous system, etc., that help them to utter these mantras. They themselves were unaware. God himself directly spoke to their mouth. And those truths have been recorded by others, just as they spoke. So that content, that whole mass of knowledge is called the Veda. So other books called the mythologies. Mythologies have taken up some parts of those truths to make them understandable to the common man. They have added some stories of illustration, some parables for illustration, so that becomes the Smriti or mythology. The first one is called Shruti, that which has been heard only. They have experienced and they uttered these mantras. And others heard it from their mouth. So they also committed it to their memory. And slowly afterwards, it was recorded on palm leaves, afterwards printed leaves, etc. Today we have them in books. But it did not come directly to books. It first came into the palm leaves. Before the palm leaves, it was all the memories of the disciples of those rishis. And earlier to that one, it was with God alone. So this is how Vedas are supposed to be. Apaurusheya, not created by any men of any great intellect. It is directly come from God. So the Puranas are only explanations for the intricate subject of the Vedas. Each Purana has taken up one part. They have tried to explain it through illustrations, through history also sometimes, and they are called the Smriti, that is remembered, remembering the teachings of the Vedas. Then they want to make the same thing understandable to the common people with illustrations, etc. That is called Smriti, the mythologies. Ramayana, Mahabharata, and so many Smritis of Manu Smriti, Yajnavalkya Smriti. These are all codes of life based on Vedas. So these are called the mythology or the Smritis. They have authority only so far as they have followed the Veda. These are all the words of Sri Swami Vivekananda. Truth is of two kinds. Sri Swamiji is telling you. That which is perceivable by the five senses of human beings and is deducible by inference, pratyaksha and anumana, directly seeing and infer certain things which you have not seen, but it is true that it will be there, it should be there, because it is always accompanied by another truth. So you infer. The common example given is, if you see a cloud, then you may say there will be rains. Because when there is a cloud, it will be rain. It may be either in Chennai or somewhere else. But there shall be rain when there are clouds. So, but we have not seen the rain. How do you say there will be rain? Always when clouds are there have been rain. Therefore, we say we infer. We don't see, but we infer. But that is true. So, when you say when the cloud is there, rains are going to come, it is true. So, you are coming to the truth there, not by direct senses, but inference. This is what the science uses. Science either declares things as true when it sees it directly through the five senses, or if we can deduce or infer through arguments, proper arguments, that if it is so, something else also must be true. So that is also true. So these two are the proofs, evidences for science. So Swami Vivekananda refers to these two. One that are perceivable by the five senses of human being and is deducible therefrom by inference. So direct perception and inference. These are the two authorities recognized by science. If something is beyond these two, science will reject it. How do you infer this truth? If your inference is wrong, so they throw it away. Have you, any of you, seen by any of your senses a particular truth? No. Throw it away. So they will not accept that as true. These are the one type of truths. That which is perceivable by the subtle powers arising from yoga, the yogic perception. Yoga is a tremendous concentration of a pure mind, a mind which has no other desire. So such a pure mind accept the good of others, accept God. The mind does not want to think anything else. Such a mind, where it is completely concentrated and it sees so many spiritual truths. With such a mind, many seers and saints have seen God. They have seen God as Krishna, as Rama, as Jehovah, as Allah. So all are truths. Why? They have been seen just as we see with these eyes. They had a yogic eye, concentrated mind with purity in itself. It can see certain things which ordinary people cannot see. But anybody else who can concentrate his mind, make it pure, and then concentrate that mind on the subject, he can see God. That is how, in the time of Rama, there were hundreds of rishis were there. They had said they have seen God, experienced God. Then in time of Krishna also, time of Buddha also, time of Jesus also, time of Muhammad also. So many people have said, we have experienced God. God is there because we have experienced. How did you experience? Not through external experiment, through physical things, but through a highly purified, concentrated mind. This is called Yoga Pratyaksha, perceived by the eye of yoga. The yoga means fully concentrated, purified mind. So this is the second type of truths. These are the spiritual truths. When we say God is, it is because hundreds and hundreds of seers and saints and incarnations belonging to not one country, to almost all the countries in the world, they have seen, experienced God, they have experienced soul, they have experienced the world as creation of God, and through certain rules, the eternal principle of good giving you joy, bad giving you sorrow, is the eternal law, eternal moral law. All these have been experienced by them. So these are the Yoga Pratyaksha, that is seen by the eye of yoga. These are also truths which we in India accept, and all the religious people accept all over the world, but scientists do not. They say we don't believe in the Yoga Pratyaksha, highly concentrated mind, whatever it may see, but we are unable to see along with them. So now Sri Ramakrishna says, I have seen Kali. So all the scientists in India, no one has seen Kali. Nobody has till now has seen Kali, and yet has remained as a scientific person or a great scientist. No great scientist anywhere. There were so many scientists, starting from Isaac Newton, in the realm of science in the West, nobody had seen God. So they were simply reading Bible and they were believing church. They never said, we have seen God. So until we see, we will not believe. Therefore, till today, usually, almost all the scientists over the world, they don't want to believe this knowledge got through intuition. This yoga, the path of yoga, through the path of yoga, that's called intuition. It is above the intellect. It is higher than the intellect. So, through intuition, the knowledge that is God, that is also true. It is also a knowledge. The knowledge acquired by the first means is called science. All the knowledge that we get through our five senses and through the inference from those experiences, they are called science. And that acquired by the second method, that is through yoga, is the Veda, is the spiritual knowledge contained in the Veda. The beginningless, Swami Vivekananda is continuing, the beginningless and endless mass of infinite knowledge called the Veda is eternally existent. The knowledge of God, knowledge of the individual souls, all of us are, each one we call ourselves as a soul. The soul lives after the body. Body may die, but we as souls, we continue. The soul goes from body to body. Almost all the religions accepted it. Some religions have suppressed it. But every religion has accepted it at some time or other, that the soul of man is eternal. So, individual soul also is true. And the Prakriti, the nature, the whole creation. So, it is also true, eternally there. So, because it is the creation of God Himself. So, God, the eternal nature and the eternal soul, all these are true because they have been experienced, they have been perceived by such yogis. Eternally exist, they are always there. The Creator Himself is creating, maintaining and destroying this world with His help. So this knowledge of the creation, how it comes out, how it should be done, every time all the universes come, then universes get dissolved. When it dissolves, next time it has to be created again. How do you create? Because the knowledge of the previous universe is there. In the previous there will be 10,000 universes. One solar universe, one lunar universe, one stellar universe. So different universes were created. So that knowledge is there in God. So I guess we had created so many universes, add one or two more and create this new one. He creates again. So that is how it is always eternal. It is with God and God is eternal. Therefore the spiritual knowledge also is eternal. God is maintaining, creating, maintaining, destroying this world with its help, that with the knowledge. What happened in the previous dissolution, this time also it will happen. What happened in the previous creation, He will make this happen this time also. How it was maintained last time, He will maintain it in this time also. So for this there are laws, there is knowledge. So all that is eternally existent in God. The person in whom that power of intuition is manifested is called a rishi, and the infinite knowledge that he comprehends through that power is called the Veda. So Swami Vivekananda is clearly describing Veda is not a book or a few mantras that we utter with different sounds up and down sonorously. That is not the Veda. Veda is the knowledge contained in them. The knowledge through which God Himself creates this world, maintains it, and just dissolves it, again creates it. So it is an eternal knowledge with God. That is called the Veda. This Veda is eternal. If you say the Veda has the 4 books that are printed, that we have in our library, it is eternal. Nobody will believe, nobody should believe. Because that is not the real meaning of Veda. Vedas is the knowledge of God, knowledge of individual soul, knowledge of the creation of the universe, and the laws that govern them. How the God is related to individual soul, how individual is related to the creation, how creation is related to God. These laws, these are the eternal knowledge that is there, and it continues to be there. So that is why Vedas are called eternal. There is no beginning, no end. As God has no beginning, God has no end. All this knowledge is with God. So we have got so many other nice things about Veda and the spiritual world. We will take them up for our reading in our next class. Today we shall stop here. Niranjanam nityamanantarupam bhaktanukampadhrita vigraham vai Ishavataram parameshamidhyam tam Ramakrishnam shirasa namah. O Ramakrishna, the taintless one, the eternal one, the one with infinite forms, the one who has assumed form for the sake of devotees, the incarnate of Supreme Soul, and the one adorable Lord of all, we salute thee, bowing our heads before you. So we shall stop here. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.